Welcome back to the Roar Podcast, the show for all things Hershey Cubs, players, coaches, personnel, and news. I'm Joshua Gearhart,
And I'm Ben Schad.
your hosts and broadcasters for the Cubs. On this episode, we are joined by legendary NHL coach Bruce Boudreau to discuss how Alex Ovechkin was able to break the NHL goal scoring record. The Roar Podcast starts right now. Corey, down for the defensive zone. Now Snowicki, there he goes, all alone. He scores! So, Bruce, thank you for joining us here today. So, for over 25 years, right? That's 25 years of record that was, long standing. Wayne Gretzky maintained sole ownership of that goal scoring record, and most deemed that that was a record that would be untouchable, right? Nobody ever thought that that goal record would ever be, clipped. But now there's a new sheriff in town, and that new sheriff is Alex
Mhm.
Ovechkin. So, and you were able to coach Ovechkin from 2007 to 2011. So during that time, did you ever imagine that he would be that guy to break the new record and dethrone the great one?
I don't think we ever thought at that early stage about the record of most goals ever. I
Yeah.
mean, uh, his first full year with me, he got 65, and you're going, well, this guy, he can score from anywhere. He can do it all. But I never thought of the number 894. Or 895, and it was never talked about at an early age. But I mean, uh, to think of how impressive that is for 20 years, you're basically scoring 45 goals every year. And that's uh, playing 82 games. That's without being hurt. And obviously we know that he didn't play 82 games every year, and he was hurt a little bit, not much. So the record itself is very impressive. And anytime you break a record in the scoring department that Wayne Gretzky held, you know you're doing something well.
Yeah. Yeah. Ben, I'll let you kind of piggyback on that then.
Yeah, just kind of going back to early in Ovi's career, I think in Josh and I's lifetime, not to, get the age difference out here, but, Ovi and Crosby, right, were the first two big stars when they were coming out of their respective drafts. And at the time, Gretzky like was kind of thrown around. I don't think it was thrown around as much as it is in more recent drafts from McDavid, Matthews onward, even now to Bedard sometimes gets that kind of tacked on to him. When you guys were looking at him way back when during that draft and he was coming through, you know, did you ever think about that tag, or was just there's something about his game that stood out, or was he just another top pick that had to go through the ringer like everybody else, and he just managed to strive from there on?
When he was drafted in 2005, I was still coaching Manchester in the American League, and I didn't have a clue who Alex Ovechkin even was. I knew he'd done well in the World Junior, and he was this number one guy. And then when I signed in Hershey that year, that summer, and got a chance to see him in training camp, I go, he's quite impressive. But I never thought, I'd seen an awful lot of hockey players come and go in my time, and I didn't equate Alex Ovechkin in 2006 training camp to beating a record. He was just a fun-loving kid that was bigger than most and more powerful than most, that could shoot harder than most. And he was playing on a last place club, so you didn't notice him as much. You didn't really get worldwide or league notice until he scored that goal in Phoenix. And then everybody looked up at him and went, wow, this guy might have something special. And then he started getting some attention. But we have to remember, back in those days, the Capitals only drew 7,000 people a game. They weren't drawing, and Washington wasn't like a hockey mecca, so they didn't have all the media that they have now. But once people got to know him, and he won the Hart, and he won the Art Ross, and just kept going, and his personality kept growing. I mean, and then he became a little larger in life, and then the team got good. So I mean, it was always something. It became, for the last 15 years, is he's been a very special athlete and very special person. So I mean, it's And he'll go down in history as obviously the greatest goal scorer, but he'll also go down as one of the great players of all time. And it wouldn't surprise me if they waive the 3-year waiting period and when he decides to retire and just put him in the Hall of Fame right away. So I mean, he's got a lot going for him, and I would love to have known everybody that thanked him or wished him well or congratulated him well. Like, I mean, from dignitaries to athletes to prime ministers to everybody. Like, I mean, I'll bet you his depth of people he knows goes way beyond what our scope of what we think is.
He's probably got connections upon connections. He's got like linkages of connections, probably.
Well, he knows Putin. That's all
Yeah,
I know.
I
So, I mean,
know.
you know,
Yeah, so and you mentioned that goal in Phoenix, right? That beautiful behind the back goal that he was able to pull off while falling down. And ironically enough, the coach on the other bench of that game was Wayne Gretzky, the Phoenix Coyotes at that point in time. And there's that iconic video, right, of after he scores that goal and he goes to the bench. There's that video of just Gretzky looking up at the scoreboard thinking, "Oh, who is this kid?" Do you think in that
yeah.
moment, do you think Gretzky kind of realized my 894 might finally be in jeopardy?
Well, I don't think he was thinking that there, but I'm sure he was thinking when he's looking up at the replay and going, this kid is special. I
Yeah,
mean, that's what in the early years, that's what you think. You're not thinking records or anything, but you're thinking this guy is really special. But, to break records in that, it's not only being good and being special, being on a good team, it's longevity. And,
right.
the thing that all of these guys, whether it's Crosby, Ovechkin, Gretzky, they all played 20 years plus, and
Yeah.
you have to play a long time to get these records. Like, I mean, the guy before him, Gordie Howe, played 32 years
Oh,
professionally. Think about it. I mean, he scored his last NHL goal. He was 52 years old.
Yager was much the same as well. Yager was still
Young,
playing into his late 40s.
yeah, and Yager still laces them up in the league in Czech right now,
Yeah.
and he's in his 50s, and so the longevity of the greatness of these guys is really incredible, and for that you need luck, you need dedication for conditioning, there's so many things that have to go towards the final goal, which is why it's such a great achievement when you look at it.
Ben, I'll throw it over to you here then.
Yeah, kind of speaking on the longevity part of it. And I think probably what's really impressive that I think differentiates Ovechkin from Gretzky in terms of just their careers when they spanned, it's kind of twofold in my mind. For one, it's the pace of the game. Even in just the last 5 years alone, it has gotten so fast out there on the ice. Guys are skating a mile a minute. Plays are going faster and faster compared to especially when Ovi first entered the league. And also, I think if you want to put an asterisk on it between the difference between Ovechkin's era and Gretzky's era is goaltending, especially, has been so evolved in the time of Ovechkin. You think about all the guys that he went against, and it's pretty funny. Some reading the names that got those special Budweisers who hadn't scored on him. Those guys got to feel pretty special. But I mean, to think about like a guy who can do that, who can it's got to be rare for a player to keep up with the pace of the game when there's so many guys out there who just go out there during a training camp in their final year or two and go, you know what, boys, I just can't keep up with these young guns anymore. How do you think he's able to do that? What's that special secret that a player has to do to evolve along with the game for the past almost 20 years now?
Well, I mean, you have to stay in shape for one thing. If you don't stay in shape and if you don't change your conditioning habits, it'll catch up to you because for every player, no matter who it is, at some point you get old. And look at Wayne scored 9 goals in his last year of playing, and he didn't score in his last 9 games that he played, I think. Alex has gone through, I mean, when you're 6'2" and you're 230 pounds and you're muscular, like, I mean, as long as he keeps up with his training and everything, I mean, he's going to keep up with the skating. Now, the skating it's not that it's gotten any faster. It really hasn't. But what it has is where you used to have, say, 10% of the guys could really skate on your team. Now 100% of the players can skate. You don't have anybody that can't skate. So I mean, it's the training nowadays when you're from 7 years old till well, you play in the NHL has become so specialized that I mean, you have your own at by 12 years old. If you think you're a player, your parents get you your own skating coach, your own skills coach, your own everything coach, your psychologist coach. So I mean, that didn't happen, say, when I played or when Wayne played. But it is now, and that's what you keep up with. But the one thing that I think one of the reasons that about Alex is he's always had fun at the game, so he's never taken it so serious that that it gnaws at him. I mean, he's had fun. He loves to score. He does, so he still enjoys the game. We still enjoy the game. You can have fun playing it. It doesn't, I mean, that was my worry last year when I first started doing TV for the Caps. I mean, the first game, as I said, he's not having fun and he better get back at it. That's when he had a really bad start, like type thing. So, I mean, but he didn't look like he was having fun. So, and let's not forget, he was drafted number one. Sydney was drafted number one the year before. But do you guys know who was drafted number two in his draft class?
Was it Malkin?
It was Malkin. And I mean, and you can see Malkin's getting older and he's slowed right down. And it's just Alex just keeps going like a well-oiled machine. So, I mean, like, I mean, he didn't play yesterday, but if he plays today and gets a couple, he could be in the top two or three goal scorers in the NHL this year, and he missed 16 games. Like, I mean, think about that. He broke his leg at 39 years old, and he still came back the same year, and he's going to get 40 plus goals. I find that an amazing, jaw-dropping stat that you can't worry, you can't even comprehend sometimes.
I think one of the favorite things that I always laugh at is his diet, right? With like a champion of his caliber, you'd think he'd have like an incredible diet like Tom Brady, where he's eating the greens, has that special vegetable juice, but instead you see him walking on the team plane with the bag of Cheetos, Mama Lucille's chicken parm, and Subway. Talk about the diet of a champion right there. Mama Lucille's for the win.
He's got Bruce's diet.
Bruce's diet.
That's well, I had him at a couple charity dinners when I was coaching Washington, where meet Alex Ovechkin, and we'd go to the Cap Grill, and he would down this would be he would down two steaks, like I mean, in a heartbeat, and have two beer with the steaks, and
Oh
then
my
go
God.
home. And this would be the night before. Not the drinking, but he's just this is what he was. He was just a mountain of a man, and he could have that and it not bother him. And so none of that stuff, it seems like it's ever bothered him.
Was he always the guy that would be like eating the most at a team party or a team dinner and you wouldn't worry one bit about it?
I never worried. I don't know if he ate the most or the least. I do know on those charity dinners, he'd sit down and he'd eat what was put in front of him, and he would devour it in a hurry. It was like his last meal, and that was I always used to think that was quite hilarious because that's how I eat. Unfortunately, it worked better on his body than it did on mine.
We see a lot this year, his personality on and off the ice. And I'm sure you've seen the viral dances, the bands to make her dance kind of thing they do in the locker room. Was he always like that? Was he always a character like that?
Always, always, always was. In 2007, if you ever go back, or 2008, and look at when our team scored goals, we had the biggest celebrations on the ice. I mean, I was so concerned about guys injuring themselves when they scored because they had so much fun scoring goals. I mean, it was they would all end up, for the most part, Nicky included, and Mike Green, and they'd dive on each other and they'd all fall to the ice. It was a fun time in hockey.
Were they at the locker room celebrations, like the pregame
Yeah,
shakes
yeah,
still there?
they all did that. They all had their routines. I mean, every time a new player comes in, something different happens, especially when he becomes part of the team, whether it was TJ Oshie or whomever. I mean, they have different quirks, but they would always, when Alex is the captain, he gets to dictate who goes on the ice first, who goes on the ice last, and what you do. So they all go around what he does.
Ovechkin always seems like he was the kind of guy that had the aux privileges in the locker room. Was he kind of controlling the music, or was that not
Oh
him at
yeah.
all?
You know what? I think as a matter of fact, when I was coaching, that he did control the music because I used to hate it so much, and you could hear it down the hall because it was that electric music that you
Yep.
hear,
Yep.
like that was really loud, and so I would remark to the coaches, I mean, how can they get in ready for a game with this music on? But if if Alex got ready, I think that was the most important thing.
Ben, I'll turn it over to you here then.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned him as a captain, and obviously, it's one thing to score a lot of goals, light up the scoreboard, but it's another thing when you're given that C and you're chosen to lead an organization, especially the foundation that you and him built in those late 2000s, early 2010s teams to really get the organization going. What kind of stood out to you with him as a leader? Obviously, he got out there, he scored goals, but when it came to wearing the C, when it came to being able to gather guys, and we're talking about a guy who came from a very foreign country, the other side of the world practically, and now all of a sudden he's captain of an NHL team in rather quick time compared to other squads. What stood out to him as a leader, both on and off the ice?
Well, I think that, when we traded Chris Clark, who was the captain and a very good one at the time, there was a void, but he could have left it for a little while. But I think it was just, maybe 6 months before that Pittsburgh had named Crosby captain. And I remember saying to George that, I mean, he's the leader of our team. He's going to be the leader for the next umpteen years. Like, I mean, and back then too, a lot of times, even as now, it's usually a lot of times it was the best player was named captain, and you can see it. We know he wasn't ready to do all the off ice duties of a captain, but he was the leader on the ice, and he was already an assistant captain. So I think it would have been sacrilegious if we had named anybody else captain of the team at that time. But so I mean, what where he was the leader was on the ice. When I went to Vancouver and found out, like the Sedins were leaders, but they didn't say a lot. They were just leaders of their work ethic and how they did on the ice. And Alex was the same. There was a lot of stuff that was in the dressing room. I mean, if there was meetings, because his language still wasn't great, like as good as it is now. So Mike Knuble held a lot of duties in that form, but there was only one guy that could possibly be captain of your team at 23 years old or 22, whatever he was, and it would have been Alex.
So it sounds like you played a pretty pivotal role in his appointment as captain. Is that correct?
I would say that I don't know if you call it a pivotal role. George asked me, I gave him my opinion. George made the final decision, and I think we made the right decision. I mean,
Yeah,
I
I
remember
would say so.
I remember saying that's there's nobody else that can be captain of this team. It's Alex's team,
Yeah.
and he had made a point of it being it's Alex's team. So we went out and made him captain. I think it was no, might not have made many good calls in my career, but that was a good one.
You got to give yourself more credit than that. Come on now. You were successful. You won a Calder Cup.
Yeah, yeah. No, I've won two Calder Cups,
That's
been in the
right, too.
finals three times.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's been a good run, and won an East Coast, won two Memorial Cups, and won a Turner Cup, which is the International League. So I mean, no, I'm not taking anything away
Yeah.
from. I've got six rings, and very proud of all of them.
There you go. So you mentioned a lot about your appointment with Ovechkin as captain and just overall the relationship in general. What does that still look like? What does your relationship, that bond you still have Ovechkin, look like today?
Well, I mean, if we don't see each other much, but if we see each other, we'll hug each other. And I mean, it was good after. I mean, I was lucky enough to get when I got fired that I got hired right away. And every time he'd make sure he'd come up and talk to me, him and Nick both. And uh, he was a pain in the ass because he'd always score two goals against me or more when I coached against them. But I mean, he would always after he scored look up and stare at me we talked after he got the 895 and this year on the opening night, we saw each other and he gave a big hug. But I mean, he's just he'll go down for me as a guy that obviously great memories. I mean, in this room alone, you don't see it from the backdrop, but there's 7 pictures of Ovechkin in this room. So I mean, I counted them yesterday, and it's amazing how he's pretty well involved in everything I've done in the NHL.
So does it go without saying, is he the best player you've ever coached?
Oh, I would have to say, like I haven't coached too many guys that broke the NHL scoring record. So,
Yeah.
but I mean, I've coached a lot of really good players. Been lucky in that respect. I can go to every team, and you look at the Corey Perrys and the Ryan Getzlaffs, and you look at the Mikko, and even back then, Timu Solani and Saku Koivu, when you moved on to Minnesota, and you had Mikko Koivu and Zach Parise and Ryan Suter and guys like that. And in Vancouver, you had the JT Millers and the Quinn Hughes. So I mean, and Elias Pettersson. So I mean, I've been lucky. Was able to coach an awful lot of good players, an awful lot of good minor league players too that never made it. But that's when you look around and you see who's coaching and who's doing things. I was very fortunate to be involved, or at least got to know an awful lot of good people.
Yeah. Ben, back to you then.
Yeah. Speaking of like all those great players, I think it's, a big credit that has to go to you and the rest of the Washington organization is that we see a lot of teams these days, they get that big piece and then they try to build around them. And I think, especially when you got Ovi, when he was really hitting his stride after his rookie year, through your coaching tenure, that you guys really did put the Capitals on the map. But again, it wasn't just Ovechkin that was doing it on his own. You guys got a lot of great pieces. And even throughout his tenure with Washington, he stayed with one team, scoring all of these goals in his career, which is not something that Gretzky can say. He obviously moved to Los Angeles and New York for the different reasons, but he's
Yep.
done it in one place his entire time and has always had a great support staff. Were you guys kind of always looking around the league, especially come trade deadline or come draft time, trying to find complementary pieces, or did they just kind of grow naturally with him no matter who he was out on the ice with?
Well, I mean, not we never looked for complimentary pieces for Alex because we had them. I mean, Nick Backstrom was there from day one, and the first day I coached the Caps, which was the 22nd game of the season, I think that year. I put Nick on the line with Alex, and he was there until he retired. I mean, then we got Fedorov to go with Semin, and every now and again I'd change Nick and Fedorov because Nick would need a break from Alex. Sometimes he wears on you, and but I mean, those two guys have been there forever, and then you had Mike Green. And then you had following him, John Carlson. So the power play was intact for the next 15 years. So I mean, it was always good. But Alex a lot of times doesn't need a lot of greatness around him. If you get him the puck, he's going to find a way to get it in the net.
So I was going to ask you then one of those questions I wanted to see your opinion on was, do you think now that, Ovechkin is likened to the same comparison of Gretzky, what skill sets do they have that are similar and different? Or do you think Ovechkin possesses skills that might be better than Gretzky? What's your take on that?
Well, I can speak that Alex had a better shot than Wayne. Um, I think, and he scores goals so much differently in that he was bigger and stronger. I mean, Wayne didn't get a lot of goals from standing in the blue paint and and scoring goals that way. Wayne was the smartest player you ever want to meet, but Alex's hockey IQ is right up there too. I mean, he sees everything that's going around him. Wayne was obviously the better passer, probably the best passer in the history of the game. But I mean, the thing that both of them had more than anybody else was the drive. They want to be the best every time they got on the ice. So if Wayne got on the ice, he wanted to be the best. I mean, got to know Wayne pretty well. And the one thing, and I followed his career really closely, and the biggest thing that I always knew if the game was 5-1 going into the third and the other team lets up, Wayne never did. He'd get 3 points and make it 8-1. Alex is the same way, which is one of the reasons he scores a lot of empty net goals, is as both of them did. I mean, when you let down your guard, they're coming down harder because they never quit. But they're both great scorers. They both have great hockey IQ, but they both did it differently.
Yeah, Ben, back to you then.
Yeah, and something you mentioned there, physicality. For one thing, I remember, growing up as a Flyers fan, the one thing that always irked me was that we could never get to Crosby, right? There was always somebody there to protect Crosby's back, always had his back. But Ovechkin, you never really had to worry about somebody protecting him because he could hold his own physically on the ice. Whether somebody wanted to scrap with him or whether he could take a big hit, you could rest easy knowing that Ovi got back up. And I have to imagine as a coach, that must have been a huge relief knowing that you didn't have to pair up, one of your grinders out there to protect Ovi. You knew that Ovechkin could go out there, he could hold his own, he could score, he could get scrappy, and I imagine that just had to be a relief on your end to know that
Yeah,
he could dish it and take it.
I mean, he didn't have to fight. I mean, that wasn't the thing. But the thing, especially when he was younger, and you saw this even if you watched the Carolina game the other day, that if you hit Ovi, okay, and usually what the opposition's coaches would say, hey, let's hit him, let's physically tire him out, let's get him off his game. I mean, if you hit him, he made a point of hitting you harder to the point where you didn't want to hit him anymore. You wanted to let him sleep. And uh, and when he takes over a game, it's usually his physicality. I mean, the Caps were losing 2-0 going into the second period against Carolina. Ovi put four monster hits on the guys where they went, bent over going to the bench, and the Caps scored 4 goals that period. And I mean, this is where he can take over games where I don't think Wayne out hit anybody in any game. They just did it differently. And so, I mean, that's what I always thought that, I mean, you can count of Alex's fights on your one hand. Like, I mean, nobody wanted to fight with him. I mean, don't forget, we still had Donald Brashear, or we had, the Caps were one of the toughest teams going with Erskine and Brashear and whoever else you wanted to put in that thing. And then they graduated and had Tom Wilson, and such. And that's one of the things that the Caps have always done is has had a big physical team. And but to go along with Alex, that's how they win.
So, what do you think, this record-breaking tally means not only to the city of Washington and the Capitals organization, but to younger kids who are playing the game all around the world, right? I mean, the kids in the Cubs organization are seeing this. What do you think this means for the game of hockey in general?
Well, the game of hockey is in such great shape. I mean, and the thing with the 895 is the whole sports world was in the world was looking at it. And with today's media and social media and technology and everything, whereas when Wayne scored 894, I mean, uh, I don't even know if you knew, but his record was breaking Gordie Howe and at 801, and that was in LA, so not a lot of people knew about it. So it would get to me. First of all, hockey in DC has exploded since Alex came on board there. But worldwide, I mean, it's created more hockey fans. I mean, it created more hockey awareness. And if you're a hockey nerd like myself, then I mean, that's what you want. You want hockey to grow, and that's the one thing that this feat that Alex did, and the fact that he is who he is really special, is because it made people aware of hockey. And when you do that, it makes me happy.
Absolutely. What do you think this means for kids in like our organization as the Cubs? Obviously a lot of them look up to him. So what do you think this does, like inspiring them to get to that next level?
Well, I mean, they all want to be like him. It's like be like Mike. Like I mean,
Yeah.
it's I'll have to get him down to a game this year, and but we better be good if that's going to happen.
Is that always a concern?
Well, you don't want to bring a guy in from Washington and then lose 8-1, right?
Yeah, that's
You
true.
would like to bring Alex in and have him watch the game and do all the and sign autographs for people, which would be really a special day.
That'd be
He
amazing.
delivers the pregame speech. I think you can guarantee a win out of that. If he goes down to their locker room before the guys,
And
I
read
think
the
he'll win
lineup.
everything.
Yeah,
Bands
yeah,
that make good dance.
yeah,
Bands that make good dance. That would get the boys going. Lastly, Bruce, what do you think the potential is for Ovechkin to hit that 1,000 total threshold? Do you think he could do it? Do you think he's got it in him?
Oh, I mean, he can do it if he wants to do it. The question is, does he want to do it? Does he want to stay and play 3 more years? Does he want to play 23 years? I think one of the things about people like Alex, and when I say people like, I mean in any sport, superstars, is if they start to slow down and they can't be who they are, they don't want to do it anymore. And I don't know. I think if he wanted, if he said, Mr. Leonsis, I want to score 1,000 goals. I mean, he would stay until he scored 1,000 goals. That's why I was convinced he was going to do it this year. And I don't think I've wavered from day one saying he'll get it this year. Even with the broken leg, I thought if he wants it, he will will it and it'll happen. So
Yeah, those,
I would love to see him score 1,000 goals. I don't want to see him or Crosby retire, but it's going to happen, and that's why you got the McDavids of the world, and hopefully Bedard can get his act together, and or at least Chicago can get his act together and put some players with them, so he could be the next face, or Macklin Celebrini or somebody be the next face of hockey because we're going to need it because those guys are getting older and they can't play forever.
yeah. Ben, back to you then here as we kind of wind down.
Yeah, I think just one last question for me is talking about Ovechkin, and it's hard to imagine a world, where he's not playing hockey. But, with your relationship with him, and eventually you're right, he's going to have to hang up the skates. What do you think he's going to get into after he's done? Do you see him, kind of doing what Gretzky did and maybe trying his hand at coaching? Or do you maybe see him, especially what a lot of sports leagues are doing this year or these days, is having global ambassadors? Do you see a particular route for Ovechkin once he finally puts up the skates?
Well, he's not going to coach. I can tell you that much. Like he's not going to put himself through that. I mean, so he's not going to coach. Um, I think and this is a vague answer, but he'll do whatever he wants. Uh, you know what? I think he'll go back to the KHL for one last year. He could become the president of the KHL if he wants to be, I think. But let's not forget he married a woman who's got 2 Russian kids, and her father is a billionaire with a B in Russia.
He's a
Like
billionaire?
he's a billionaire.
I did not realize that. Like, he
Yeah.
came from money too.
Alex wasn't gonna marry.
Well, I didn't think he married poor, but
Yeah. But I mean, I think, and don't hold me to this. Like, I mean, I don't know what an oligarch is, but if it's a billionaire, that's what the family he married into. So I guess the point is, whatever he wants to do, he's going to have the capability of doing. And I'm sure his competitive nature, he's going to want to do something. He's not going to sit on the couch and watch TV. But I mean, he's going to do something. But I'm sure whatever he wants to do, he'll be the best at it.
I was going to ask, one of his greatest obsessions from the moment he was in the league until now has always been his cars. He's always wanted cars and like things of that nature. Was Are there any stories that you can remember from the days when he was driving to the rinks in crazy cars and doing crazy things in cars? Because I'll never forget his draft interview. He goes, "I just want to get drafted so I can get a car," kind of thing. Do you have any stories on that?
No, no, I don't, and I don't want to know any of the stories that he has either, as far as cars are concerned. But again, I mean, whatever kind of car Alex wants, he can get. So I
Yeah,
mean,
that's true.
if he wants a Jay Leno collection, he could do that. But I mean, it's whatever Alex is interested in doing, he's going to do.
What is your greatest memory with Alex before we wrap up here? What is that one memory that you have with Alex that really kind of sticks with you?
You know what? I mean, there's so many goals that he scored, were amazing goals that you sit back there and you watch. I think that's more than just a one off of having a great memory of Alex. I mean, uh, my memories are when he was hurt, and I'd say, "You sure you don't need a day off?" He said, "No, I go, coach." And then he goes out there and he scores three. So I mean, just the amazing specimen of a hockey player that he is.
Do you think we'll ever see anybody like him who's tough, not only mentally but physically in the game ever again like that?
Yeah, we will. I mean,
Mhm.
that's anytime you think that that's the only one, there's going to be somebody that comes along. It might not be in my lifetime, but there'll be somebody.
Well, with that, Coach Boudreau, thank you for joining us on this edition of The Roar. I'm Joshua Gearhart alongside Ben Schad. Find us on YouTube, the Hershey Cubs The Roar, as well as at Hershey Cubs on Instagram, X, and TikTok, or Hershey Cubs on Facebook. Hit that like button, subscribe, and follow us on all accounts and fear the roar.